Hello, and welcome back to the Follow Your Spark podcast. I am so delighted to have Nelly Caldeira here with me today for this incredible interview that I'm sure we are about to have. I had the pleasure of meeting Nelly recently at something called Zouk Heat at a 4-day dance festival. That, if you're not familiar with Zouk, it's a beautiful partner dance that goes so far beyond dancing, which I'm sure we will talk about in our conversation today. I was immediately moved and inspired by her perspective that she brought to this class, to this workshop I got to experience. So I knew I would love to have her on this podcast and share that perspective. So I'm so excited she's here. And to give you a little bit more context about her work and what she does, Nelly is a Brazilian Zouk instructor and personal transformation coach based in the Bay Area in California. And she combines her experience with dance, emotional intelligence, NLP, and various other types of growth modalities to help her clients, both dancers and non-dancers alike, to overcome old patterns and unlock their full potential. She really believes that true success stems from becoming your best self, and that growth, even though it can be challenging, is always worth the journey. She approaches her support of her clients on and off the dance floor to empower them to build confidence, develop meaningful relationships, and achieve their goals, whatever they are. So, Nelly, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. It feels so good already. And we just got started.
Love it. Well, the first question I love to ask is, when you hear that phrase, to follow your spark, what, if anything, does that mean to you?
That was so interesting because when I got this question from you, I was like, this could mean so many things. What lights me up, what inspires me, what brings motivation, what keeps me going, what makes me feel like life is worth living. So I have
Mm,
this sentence of what would be a life worth living for you. So
mm,
following your spark is like, what makes life worth living for you, you know?
mhm,
And
mhm.
yeah, there's a combination of answers that could come through, but I think this is what I think.
Well, my next natural question is, what makes life worth living to you?
Cool. So for me, I think there's a combination of things, combination of relationships, personal growth, and purpose. And all of this in a way that I can impact and be impacted by people so life feels even more interesting and joyful. I
Mhm.
think this is what it is for me.
Beautiful. So it sounds like both that personal experience of
Yes.
relationships, growth, purpose, as
Yes.
well as contribution and how that shows up in relationship with other people.
Yeah, yeah. I think I like the dynamic of me, myself, and I plus me and everything else. So I think, yeah, the in between is really fun to observe as we live.
When you say the in between me, myself, and I, or tell me more about that.
I feel like it is really interesting to see how I am, who I am, and the way that I am. And when I talk about me, it could be anyone else in their own personal experience, and see how the experience of myself relates to the experience of others. And
Mm,
create this third thing that is this, I call it in between, this third thing, like this thing that is the relationship, the exchange, like this triangle, me, others, and us.
mm.
I just have a lot of fun observing how life happens when this thing is happening, like all these exchanges.
Yeah, yeah, it's like this beautiful third entity. It's you, me, and then what happens when we
Yes,
come together. And there's like a
yes,
whole world and so many
yes,
layers of that.
yes. So it's
Mhm.
really, really cool. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, fascinating. So I'm curious, the work that you do now, dance, blending, mindset, and coaching, all of this, tell me a little bit more about any tipping points that are coming to mind right now, any catalysts that
Mhm.
led you to what you're doing now.
I think for me, social dancing, Zouk specifically, was the catalyst somehow. I've always been interested in personal growth and change, so somehow I feel privileged to feel like I have a personality or a mindset already growing up or be awakened to my own essence from the beginning. It's not like I've been not aware. But I think the social dance brought a new reality into it because all the social dynamics that are happening into the dance floor or out of the dance floor as you're thinking about dance, as you're learning, just invites us to see, who am I, how am I showing up, how am I interacting with other people, how does my skill, my learning process relates to how I relate to others. So like everything gets combined all at once. And I think for me, another catalyst was the phase of my life that I was in, the transformational phase that I was like reestablishing relationship with my mom after like breaking up in that relationship with my mom. The things that I was wanting to become and realizing all of that together. So I think on the big picture, this was a big catalyst. I don't know if I answered the question though.
Mhm. Yeah, so it sounds like dancing Zouk socially and kind of seeing all the things that come up in that process of
Yeah,
the dynamics again between 2 people, between
yeah,
groups of people,
yeah,
sounds like it got you curious, or
yeah.
were you already a coach before that, or did
Yeah,
that spark the, like, weaving into it, or where did the
I
mindset
see.
come in?
I'm a philosophy teacher,
Mm,
so I already come from philosophy. So thinking mindset, this is already part of my reality. My
mhm,
mom, she teaches Portuguese and different sorts of literature from African to Greek. So I've always been exposed to thinking. So the idea, I tell people like, how long are you coaching? And I ask them like, do you want to know when I open the business or when? Because I think I've been coaching since I was born. Like I think
yeah,
it's an inherent. If I think of this as a combination of skills and a ways of being and the principles for life, I think I've been doing this for a long time. I wasn't charging for it, and I didn't have any official professional experience.
yeah,
So my dancing process came before I became a coach officially. 'Cause I've been dancing
mhm,
for almost 10 years now and teaching for 8. But becoming a coach is 5 or 6 years. But I was already a philosophy teacher, and I tell people like I think I've been doing coaching since I was in school teaching people. I just didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have a name. So if I
mhm,
were to say a tipping point into coaching was moving to the US from Brazil. Almost 7 years that I'm in US. So transitioning countries, like coming here, leaving everything behind, going to a new life, I think that's the tipping point to see like how can I already do not want to be in education anymore. The way philosophy was working, there's a whole story to that. So like I want practical change. I don't want to just talk theory. I want to
mm,
see transformation. So moving to the US would be the main one, like what
mhm,
main catalyst. But as
mhm,
a dancer, teaching people and seeing how their dance affects them, it's the second layer of the tipping point when you're teaching someone head movement in Zouk and their physiology is responding in the most amazing, interesting way. And it has nothing to do with the dance technique. It has to
mm,
do, for example, with my position in relationship to them. If I am in front of them, they have one body language. If I am behind them, they have a different body language. And I was like, why is that? Like,
mm.
is there something around safety here? What is actually happening in their mind, in their body, in their emotional body that is responding differently to the dance? So I would say
Mm,
the teaching was the second catalyst after moving here.
mhm. Yeah. So it sounds like becoming a teacher of dance and really noticing, wait
Mhm.
a second, there's more going on underneath the surface here.
Yeah,
That's not just the dance technique.
yeah,
There's got to be something else happening, and
yeah.
being able to bring all of your skills, all of your experience, and start picking up on that.
Mm,
Sounds like it was a natural flow into being able to support people on a more deeper level, on a more
yeah,
holistic level
yeah.
with their journey.
Yeah, and I think coaching is just the label that I chose. I feel like at this point, people say, "Are you a mentor?" I'm like, "Yeah." Do you do consult? I'm like, "Yeah." Like I show up in so many different ways. Are you teaching now? I feel like, well, I can try to separate all the roles through what the role does, but my intention is to impact, and I'm gonna show up in the way that I need to. So I think coach is a label that makes it easier to understand, but there's so much more to that, and I'm sure you know that. I know that as well.
Course. Yes, it sounds like all these varied skill sets. It's yes, we can put a word on it, and
Yeah,
it's so unique, it's so multifaceted. There's so many different ways
yeah,
to incorporate it or put into practice. So
yeah.
yeah, it can look different in a different moment, and ultimately it
Yes,
sounds like it's about personal growth and
yes,
transformation and helping
yeah,
people understand themselves on a
yeah,
deeper level and unlock things
yeah.
that maybe they're struggling to unlock, whether physically or
Mhm.
emotionally or mentally.
100%. I think on a personal level, something that I can add, maybe it was not a catalyst, but it was a convincer over time,
Mhm.
was seeing the changes in my own personal relationship with dance
Mm.
through the mindset or emotional work that I was doing. I think as dancers, and because I work primarily with dancers, our idea is that we need to learn more technique. We need to work on the body. We need to, like, there's so much on the body already. And I tell people, you already have all the information, honestly, conscious and unconsciously. And a different mindset, a different context, a different level of safety is going to cause you to do everything you think you don't know how to do. So,
Mm,
like, noticing that a lot of my progress in dance came from who I was becoming was
mm,
actually a big convincer. So it might not be the tipping point, but it's what keeps me on the path, you
mm,
know?
mhm.
And then
Yeah,
seeing it with my students and my clients as well.
it's interesting. What that makes me think of kind of similarly in my clients is oftentimes people are looking for the how. of like, how do I achieve this goal? How do I build my business? How do I do all these things? Just tell me what to
Yeah.
do. Tell me the perfect steps to take. Tell me the
Yeah.
perfect formula. And it seems like maybe with dancers of like that, okay, just how do I perfect this skill? How do I just master this skill? And it's, well, what's actually impacting your ability to perform that skill or to achieve that goal, business or personal or otherwise, is so often our mindset.
Yeah.
What we're thinking, how
Yeah.
we're feeling,
Yeah.
that impacts everything.
Yeah.
And, maybe dancers might not be aware of that. Most people aren't aware of that, of just
Yes.
how drastically our mindset and our feelings and our thoughts impact how we
Yeah.
show up and our perception of experiences.
So true. So true. And I think what I want to say, what I would add to this, like people understand, but they don't know it. It is a thing with a client that I was working with today. And it's like, oh, I understand that. I'm like, I know you understand, but do you know it? And there's a level of inner knowing the thing. And I feel like, oh, I understand my mindset. Like people come from this, oh, I understand my communication, the words that I use. I'm like, so great that you understand. My question, do you know it, like in your core?
Mm,
And I think this is where I come in because it's adding depth to understanding. I feel like we are so addicted to understanding, and we got to a point that we thought that was enough, and it isn't, you know?
yeah, I love that. And like you said, it's one thing to know something on a logical level. It's another
Yes,
thing to really embody it or be able to shift
yes,
it or be able to
yeah,
understand how it really impacts you.
yes, yes.
And speaking of like understanding and this like desire to understand, I know one thing that you talked about being important is this power of communication,
Mhm,
transformation. So I'm curious, anywhere you want to go or riff on this topic of the power of
yeah,
communication and maybe this idea of how people want to understand things and
mhm,
maybe where and when that gets in the way of
yeah.
something.
Yeah, that is so interesting. I love you mentioning this. I think most of my life in Brazil, I was never actually taught, or maybe I wasn't in a moment that I could realize that the words that I say, how I say them, how my body shows up when I'm saying a certain words or in a certain rhythm that has an impact, and it's not just pure coincidence.
Mm,
So I think I've been really used in my childhood as like these are just words,
mm,
as if they were not saying anything. And then at this point that I am in my life, when I'm like words are saying things
mm,
beyond the meaning of the word itself, but about what it means about you. Like the words is expressing your essence. Your words
mm,
are expressing your emotional state. Like your communication is not just transcribing ideas.
mm.
So I grew up with the idea that words represent ideas. And that's great. That's definitely a level of understanding of the words. And then there's a level of awareness about what does the word really mean? Why am I choosing unconsciously or automatically to use I love this idea when people shift from wasting to investing. Oh, I'm wasting my time on
Mm,
this. Oh, I'm investing my time on this. Or I should do this from I really want to consider doing this. So why those why those words impact us? So I feel like for me, transformation is a lot about awareness
mm,
and observing how we use our words and how we use our body to express our words means so much.
mm,
As a teacher in dance, this shows up very clearly on how my students receive or do not receive content. If I say I have something challenging to tell you guys right now, and most people cannot do it, but if you try really hard, I'm sure you're gonna get there. Wow, that language, right? What is the impact of that language? So for me, when it comes to the understanding, right, I feel like we understand that words have an impact, but if we really stay present and notice how we feel, how our bodies show up when we're saying certain words, are going to feel like, why are these words showing up so much in my life? And they're going to show patterns. They're going to show all levels of patterns and needs and values. And what I see with most of my clients is that we want to understand things in a logical way. I want to understand, oh, I use this word because my mom used to use this word. So this is a level of explanation of the reason why you use the word that you use. But there's a level of depth of like, why do you think you continue to use it? How is that word or that sentence or that expression serving you? And I'm fascinated by this because I hear myself, and because I'm a very fast thinker and processor, and I'm a verbal processor, I'm listening and hearing. My level of awareness is very high at this point. So I'm like, huh, interesting. This is the word that I choose. So what does it mean? What does it mean about me? What does it mean about my intention when I'm communicating? Yeah,
Hmm.
this is what's coming for me right now.
Yeah. So it sounds like being able to notice the words that we choose to use, and then
Hmm.
also being able to be curious of what impact that has on my body, what impact that
Hmm.
has on my body when I say the word I'm wasting time versus I'm
Hmm.
investing time. And it's, yeah, I
Yeah,
can feel it immediately when I say that. And it's
yeah,
most people don't catch that. Again, they might know or think that they know, okay, my
yeah.
thoughts have an impact on me. And they don't really notice when they
Yes,
say words like that. It feels
yeah,
like the truth. It feels like the truth to say, "I'm wasting time."
yes,
Like, that's just the
yes,
truth versus, "Is it
yes,
the truth?
yeah,
Could there be another perspective? How does
yes,
it feel when you think that thought? Who would you be without that thought? How might it feel
yeah,
as a different thought?" So it's,
yeah.
yeah, awareness and understanding. There's so many levels of it
You
to go deeper into.
Oof, so much. You just said that, and something else that came to me, if it's okay for me to add,
Yes.
is the idea like when we're looking at our language, and I'm adding a different layer to this and our communication and how that shows our path. It's not to judge the language. It's not to say the way using the word wasting is a problem. I should just use the word investing. And I do this happening. Like I understand sometimes, oh, wasting is a bad word.
Mhm.
I need to be using investing because investing is the positive word. And sometimes
Mhm.
people shift, but physiologically, there was no shift.
Mhm.
So your physiological response to investing is the same as wasting because the energy around the word, what the motivation behind the use of that word, it has not been cleared up. Energetically,
Mhm.
it's coming from the same place. So when I talk about communication, it's not just the words, it's how words, behavior, physiology, how everything integrates or it doesn't. And I like to tell my clients, or maybe just bring this energy into my coaching process, which is what does the word wasting is actually telling you? It might be
Mhm.
telling you that you have a perception about your reality that is not that's not serving you. But it might be telling you that you're crossing a personal boundary and you're putting your time and effort in something that's not really what interests you. It might be telling you that it's enough. So it's not to have a moral judgment. And that's what I'm saying. When we start just an analytical understanding of the words, we we judge the word and we shift it without shifting what it's coming from. But if you stay curious, you're gonna see what is this word that I'm using telling me. Maybe it's telling me that I'm crossing a value that I didn't notice and I'm prioritizing things in a way that doesn't serve me. So if you stay curious, it just tells you so much, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, totally. And what I'm hearing in that too, and I see with my clients as well, is people will have a thought or have an emotion and then judge themselves for having it. Oh, I'm a
Yeah,
bad person for using the word wasting. I'm a bad person for feeling pain, for feeling guilt, for feeling confusion, for feeling any of these things. I should be feeling differently. Let me
yeah,
just force myself or tell myself I'm in this place over here now. I'm in this
yeah,
positive place, and they
yeah,
haven't really given themselves space to feel that initial feeling or process that initial feeling or be curious about that. And like you said, when you
yeah,
skip that part,
yes,
it's very hard to bypass. You can't really bypass that original feeling or that original energy.
yeah,
That makes a lot of
yeah,
sense. So I'm curious for someone who's maybe in that place, and like you said, curiosity is a big part of this. And they're in a
yes.
place where they're maybe struggling to see things from a different perspective, or they have a thought that they know is not serving them. Any other guidance, or how else can they bring more curiosity and compassion to themselves in that?
Ooh,
What would you
yeah,
say?
I love that. I love this question. I'm a lover of sustainability. So the answer I'm going to give you here right now might not be as practical as people want it. I love things that are built over time. So the reason why I'm saying this is because yes, there are tools and things that you can use. If you are curious, you might not have the resource you need to resolve your problem, but you're going to go to places and people where you can find the answer. So
Mm,
for me, curiosity is not staying curious because you are the problem solver. My tip for you here is you have a problem, you have a situation, you have an emotional response, you want to do something about it to change it or learn from it, whatever that is. And you feel like I don't know what to do. So curiosity is having that space where I don't know what to do, who does it? Where do I go to find it? And the reason why I say this is because there's no one tool that I can share. There's no one exercise that works for everyone. I
mm,
can give you like, oh, sit down and just breathe right now and be in the presence of your body. But maybe you have a level of anxiety that doesn't allow you. That's not going to support you. Like I know people that if I do breathing with them, they get more anxious.
Mm,
And for me, I need to ask them to jump. So if I offer people embodiment tools from sitting
mm,
down, breathing, other people just needs jumping and shaking. Like we have completely different needs. Some people don't need embodiment. Some people need mental things. They need visual exercises. Like we have different needs, right? In different senses. So for me, the reason I'm saying sustainability is very important for me is if you're curious and you are practicing curiosity over time, you're gonna learn your own patterns. You're gonna learn, where do I go? First of all, where do I go to find the solution that I need that I don't have it right now in my own awareness? Cool.
mm,
Do I go to a coach? Do I go to a friend? Do I go to ChatGPT? Like, where do you go, right? Do I go to a book? Do I go to a podcast? Where can I go if I feel like I don't have the resource to do it? Because if you had it, you would not ask yourself this question. You would have acted on it already. So it's that moment that you needed some external inspiration, right? So I like to say the second layer for this is if you continuously do this, if this is a long term practice, you start learning the tools that work for you.
mm,
And then it's no longer about curiosity. Now it's about consistency and self-respect. So I
mm,
know as a coach right now the tools that are work for me. That doesn't mean that they always work. So sometimes breathing works for me, sometimes it doesn't. I need to shake. But
mm,
because we are creatures of patterns, if you're watching and observing and being with yourself long term, truly, you find what are the things that tends to work most of the time.
mhm,
So play the long game. Get
mm,
curious, and your curiosity start like gathering. I love systems. I'm a lover of systems and goals, and my goodness, I love systems. Gather that information somewhere. Whatever you discover through curiosity, gather that information somewhere. The resources that you found that work for you, and the things that you use, the tools. Apply them over time, and you're gonna know when to use which one, how, and if it doesn't work, you just go back to the beginning, curiosity again. Now you have
mm,
this, I think it causes you to feel resourceful without feeling dependent.
mm. Yeah, beautiful. So yeah, that curiosity, I talk a lot about that in terms of intuition. And when you have a problem, when you have a question, be able to ask, okay, I need support with X. And it sounds like then being open to where you're guided. Are you guided to a book? Are you guided to a coach? Are you guided to a practitioner, to an
Yeah.
experience?
Mhm.
Posing that question and knowing, okay, I'm seeking some kind of support right now, some kind of assistance. Let me put my feelers out and see what I start to resonate with or what sparks something for me.
Yeah.
And then try it and then begin to see and track
Yes.
evidence. Oh, this worked really well for me.
Yeah.
When I'm feeling this level of anxiety, this works. But when I'm feeling this level of stressed and tired, this
It
works.
works. Yes.
That can be completely different for different people.
Yeah.
And the way that we figure that out is by experimenting and exploring and really tracking that evidence and feedback for ourselves instead of thinking that, again, somebody else has that perfect external answer of coming
Yes.
back to, oh, just tell me how to do the move right. Just tell me how to build my business right. What's the right answer?
Yes.
Versus, what if the way you figure it out is through trial and error, through
Yeah.
your own experience, through your own evidence gathering?
Yes.
Yeah.
You mentioned some aspect of it that I didn't say it and that I love so much, which is this intuitive spiritual aspect of it. Deep inside, I believe everything is spiritual. So I tell people like, this whole thing for me is energy work and spiritual work. If I really go where I actually come from, this is where I'm gonna go. This is not. I'm not a spiritual coach, so this is not the forefront of what I'm doing. I'm still in mindset, behavior, systems, and stuff, and dance, of course. But everything for me is deep spiritual energy work. So if you're aware of that level, there's a different way to go into that route, which you can just literally be present. And maybe you're gonna go into your guides. Maybe you're gonna go into God. Maybe you're gonna go into source, whatever source is for you. And you're not gonna have to do as much researching. You're gonna learn to find within. And this find within is so powerful. And I know for some people it feels really deep. So it feels like, well, that's a big jump. I'm telling you I don't have it, and you're telling me to find me within. So what are you actually telling me? So I think the answers I give here, they are more practical. But deeper you go into your self work, you're gonna notice that it's deeper than that. And then the going within becomes so much easier, and that is the tool that
Mhm.
you're gonna actually use most of the time.
Yeah.
Some people are already there. So I love you mentioning this because I feel like, yeah. We're talking same language here.
100%. And that's a muscle you can build too, right? That's a muscle that you
Exactly.
can deepen even if you're not familiar with it yet.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that you can't be, and it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be a relationship with God. It can be a relationship with your heart, with
Out.
your inner wisdom,
Yeah.
the universe,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yes. Yeah.
Mhm. And one thing that you said, that like third step being consistency and self-respect of, okay, they have the tools. Now it's, do they actually reach for the tools when they need them?
Yeah.
And I'm curious how you feel like self-respect ties into that.
Yeah, I feel like self-respect is listening to what you're needing and not judging it and taking action towards that. I think because we have so much inputs internally and externally, and there's so much noise in life, self-respect is like crossing my own boundary needs. Like I'm listening that I need to take a break. I know it. My body's telling me, my soul is telling me, whatever, my mental state is telling me, but I think I should be doing something else.
Mm,
So when I follow self-respect for me is not following someone else's plan, it's following your own. And I tie that with consistency and discipline here and systems and processes because your mind doesn't need to be remind you of that all the time. We live in a world that there's so many ways to get accountability and reminders, even for our own personal practices. So you can take the weight off of your shoulders of remembering and put this somewhere else. And I absolutely love that. But self-respect is not just being disciplined, it's listening because even in the discipline process, you need to listen. Am I doing this because I told myself that I wouldn't? If I don't now, I need to hate myself because I'm no longer disciplined. It's just such an interesting thing. I tell people like self-respect and discipline, they come together to harmonize each other because
mm,
sometimes discipline becomes rigidity. It's no longer your own path. It's
mhm,
just that you're afraid of not doing what you said you would, but maybe your path has changed. So I
mm,
self-respect here would be a little bit of the feminine energy,
mm.
like where intuition comes in. And I feel like, for example, for me, I have this goal of working out 300 times this year.
Okay.
And I'm like so focused on this discipline goal. I'm like, I'm gonna do this. And then I notice, okay, I've missed some. Wow, I can only miss now 30 days of the year because traveling and this and that. And I was like, how can I soften up? What would
Mm,
self-respect look like for me here? Because getting up to go to the gym right now feels so against the flow of my own reality.
mm,
Right? So I was like, okay, do I change my goal? Do I shift my goal? Or do I change how I handle it? So the
mhm,
discipline is the action for me. Discipline is like showing up for what matters to me in the way that I said I would. There's a consistency to it. But the self-respect, like how would I show up today? Because context has changed, environment has changed, my internal reality has changed, and I still want to honor myself. So for me in this example, like I came up with this I call minimum. Minimum. What is the minimum way to continuously move towards the direction you want to go? I have this aim, whatever. So the minimum for me is like if I do 20 minutes of intentional movement in my day, that counts as a day of workout. Because sometimes we just go for this big chunk of a goal, right? So I like, okay, self-respect right now is me looking into which ways it feels true to me that I'm on path even though I'm
mhm,
not doing what I thought I would.
mhm,
So yeah, it's this struggle
mm.
between.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm curious your perspective about this. I've been thinking about this a lot myself lately as I pursue different goals, this idea of capacity. And
Hmm.
what this means to me is that, I think sometimes when people set a goal, and or they're pushing, not pushing themselves, but they're stretching
Yes.
themselves in an intentional way, whether working out 300 times a year or pursuing something else, that they'll naturally come up against this like tension point, that growth edge of they're
Hmm.
growing, they're expanding, it feels uncomfortable. So
Hmm.
there might be moments where their brain or their body is telling them, oh no, I'm maxed out, I need to rest, we should dial back, we should do things differently, soften. And one person might see that, oh, this is self respect. This is me honoring my needs. And it could be also
Hmm.
of resisting that expansion.
Hmm.
So I'm curious if that makes sense and how and what you would say to that if someone is questioning,
Yeah.
is this honoring myself to rest? How do I know if like rest is the answer or if leaning in and actually leaning into the discomfort and
Yeah.
continuing to go, not from a place of force or I have to,
Yeah.
but from a place of This is intentional. It's helping me grow, even if it's uncomfortable right now.
Mhm.
Pausing this interview for a moment to say that if you are anything like my coaching clients, I'm guessing you want to live a life where you feel fully self expressed, where your voice, your gifts, and your truth are shining out in the world. You want to follow your passion, lead with purpose, and create a life that feels true to you. And if you're human, I bet you've also felt the flip side of this, the fear, the doubt, the anxiety that whispers, maybe I'm not ready. Maybe I should just stay here where it's safe. I mean, after all, life is fine. And I know you didn't come here to live a life that is just fine. If you're listening to this podcast, I know you feel that deep pull inside for something more. You have big, bold dreams, and you're ready to stop shrinking yourself into a life that no longer fits. You've waited long enough. You do not need more time. If you're ready to say yes to the life that is truly calling you forward, I created something for you. It's a free masterclass called The 5 Keys to Bet on Yourself and Blaze Your Own Path. In this masterclass, I'll show you how to break free from the patterns that keep you playing small and step into the courage it takes to truly bet on yourself. That might look like launching the business that you've been dreaming of, finally taking that sabbatical, owning and expressing your creative gifts, or even just choosing to say no to something that drains your energy. Whatever that is for you, this masterclass will help you say yes to it. You'll walk away with clarity on the exact patterns that have been keeping you stuck and an understanding of how they're often different than you think. You'll discover practical tools to quiet the self doubt and fear. You'll reconnect to what you truly desire and why it matters. And I'll share with you a proven framework that will help you start showing up as the bold, empowered woman you're here to be. If you're done waiting for the perfect time and you're ready to trust yourself to move forward with confidence, this is your chance. Head to ginacasbara.com/bet on yourself to join me for this masterclass and see what's possible for you. Again, that's ginacasbara.com/bet on yourself. All one word. Remember, when you follow your spark, the path reveals itself. You don't need to know exactly where it's going. You just have to be willing to take the next step. You ready? Join me for this masterclass and see where it leads. RSVP at ginacasbara.com/bet on yourself. And now let's get back to the interview.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think there are two ways to approach this. Me trying to be simplistic here right now. I love how simplistic we can be when we're just giving answers like this. When we get into it, and this is the power of coaching and having models, people that you can really find the answer for you. But right now, I'm going to go simplistic as if it's one size fits all. So the first answer that comes to me is more you coming from an energetic standpoint, you know your energy. Your energy doesn't lie. Like your energy is like, how is your energy level? And you can assess your energy through a physical standpoint. You can assess your energy into your mental capacity. You can assess your energy emotionally. So I feel like you can choose to observe how your bodies respond. And the reason I'm saying bodies is because I talk about spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical body.
Mm,
So like you can look at your bodies and see how are they responding to that decision. Do I soften up? Do I go into a more feminine flow right now? Or do I push myself over to see if it's just resistance or fear? Right. So I feel like giving attention to the four bodies and not just one, it's a very good way to assess your energy. I love this holographic thinking process where you feel like, how am I feeling about this decision? Do I want to work out today? For example, for me, how do I feel spiritually? Spiritually, I feel like, oh, I feel cool. I feel connected. I'm not feeling any impasse. How do I feel emotionally? I'm feeling kind of emotionally drained right now. And then I feel mental. How do I feel mentally? Mentally, I feel like it's cool. I already know what I need to do. I don't have to think much. But physically, I'm exhausted. So, like, you have these bodies
mm,
communicating. And I like to say sometimes the bodies are going to be even. Sometimes one body is going to say, you know what? There's no way I'm going to do this physically right now. So it's no longer about my goal. Now my goal is about like how are my bodies showing up? So you make like
mm,
an energetic assessment of
mhm,
what it would feel like to do or not do it. And sometimes bodies are going to come together. Three of them are going to say hell no. And one is going to be super excited. You're going to feel like, okay, we have three, two, one here. What do we choose to do? And that's where freedom comes from. So I feel like one is
mhm.
looking at the four bodies and see how do you feel, how do they communicate, how do they relate, and then it gonna comes the second one, which I feel like it's a level of ownership and forgiveness.
Mm,
Ownership is like 3 to 1. These three bodies are saying no, but this one is saying yes, and I'm a yes. Let's do this. The reason why I say it's ownership and forgiveness is because sometimes we do things unaware or we don't know what's in our path, right? Sometimes
mhm,
one body might be fully strong into one thing, like mentally I'm really called into this today. Even though physically I'm tired, I feel like so mentally ready. So we might choose to do something and cross some boundary or test our boundaries because
mhm,
one body is wanting, even though three are not. And I say ownership is like committing to your yes.
mhm,
If you said yes, be a yes. And if you learn something from it, I say forgiveness is forgiving yourself from crossing a boundary when you are not aware of it. I use a lot of this in dance. You're
mhm,
dancing, someone takes you to dance, a part of you doesn't like the song, a part of you loves your own outfit and you want yourself to flow into this new outfit that you're wearing. A part of you feel like, wow, I never danced with this person. I would love to dance with them. A part of you feel like this floor sucks. I'm gonna hurt my knee. So like you're making 100 assessments at the same time about saying yes to someone or not. A part of
mhm,
you is feeling like, oh, I really want to dance right now, but maybe this is an opportunity to connect. So there are so many inner conversations, right? So
mhm.
I tell people like you're making an assessment of all these bodies automatically. Let's say that you said yes or no to something. Now it's ownership level.
Mm,
If you gave a yes, be a yes. Tell your bodies, man, I said a yes. Let's do our best, whatever our best look like. And if for example you don't get the result you wanted, or it doesn't meet your expectations, now it's forgiveness time.
mm.
Forgiveness, okay, I crossed my boundary here. What can I learn from it? Because life is about this process of understanding. And if you don't have this flow of, I talk to the parts of me. I committed to whatever I chose to do, and I can forgive myself if it didn't go the way I wanted. Next time is gonna be even better.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that so much. And I've been thinking about very similar things. And I love that the check in with the four bodies and being able to explore all of that. Because, like you said, there might be a moment where you really have the physical capacity for something and the mental thoughts are draining your energy. So that's a
Yes,
beautiful awareness of, okay, am I telling myself that I just can't do it and I actually can? That might be a moment to see, can I shift my thoughts intentionally? And maybe that will help me energetically step into whatever it is I want to explore. And
yeah,
maybe it's vice versa. Like you said,
yeah,
if the mental stamina is there, the mental capacity is there, but you're exhausted for whatever
yes,
reason. And it's
yes,
you get to choose after you check in with that and see, okay, what's going to be most in alignment with my goals, my desires, what really matters to me. And it might not be a straight across the board, yes, 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 yes. It
yes,
might be 3, 2, 1, or
yeah,
a different combination of that. And you get to choose. And
yeah,
it's again about being able to have that curiosity, take that ownership, and then be willing to learn no matter what happens and
yeah,
let go of the judgment of if things didn't turn out the way that
yeah,
you hoped or planned or intended.
yeah. 100%. 100%. I believe you work with your clients too. I don't know exactly the work you do. And I'm actually super curious about it. I wish I had a podcast to interview you. So I need to interview behind the scenes because I'm so curious about you. And I'm just loving everything that I'm seeing in your work. It's just
Mm,
fantastic. It's so genuine. So one of the things that I assume you also do with your clients is understanding not only their goal, but their intention, their why, their purpose, right? The motivation beyond the practical, measurable reality. What is the true motivation behind whatever it is that you're trying to achieve? I think when people are doing work for a while or they are being intentional about their living reality, their mindset and everything else, this sometimes is enough. Like
mm,
this process that I'm giving is one way, but sometimes for me, it's just like, what am I doing this? And I look at my vision board. My vision board is right here. I'm like, oh, it's for that girl.
mm,
So
mm.
there are so many other mechanisms that you can use to resolve this. And so, it's for that girl that I'm going to choose to cross my physical body today because I think for her, it would not be crossing. So when I
Mm.
look at myself and I'm like, for that girl, this is not even a boundary right now. So I look at
Yes.
my future self or my vision. I feel like, I think she would support me to cross here right now. And it's like that future self, higher self supporting you on the path. So I think there are other things that you can create as an element in your life to be able to answer this easier over time, you know?
Yes, 1000%. And that's definitely a big piece of the work that I do with clients as well, because it's one thing to have a vision for your life of goals and desires. And it's another thing to really understand the why.
Yeah.
And that's what can really compel you
Yeah.
to push past your growth edge and say yes, even in the moments where a part of you might want to rest and you have to have that discernment, or you get to have that discernment of, do I really want to need to rest right now? Or would that next level future self,
Hmm.
this not even be a challenge for her?
Yes.
And how can I begin to step into that energy
Energy.
now?
Yes.
Begin to embody her now, knowing that that might feel uncomfortable in this
Yes.
moment because I'm not there yet. And I'm growing
Yes.
and expanding into that.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting. I used to have my vision board on my wall right next to me. You can't see it. But a couple months ago, it just like randomly fell off the wall. And I was like, oh, okay, there's something that is
Yes.
done with that vision board. And now I
Yes.
have a picture of this artwork that's a phoenix. And it really reminds me of the power of overcoming obstacles, the power of putting
Mm.
myself in challenging circumstances intentionally in order to grow. So
Yes.
that's definitely like a huge reminder of my why right now in my hardest moments of, oh
Yes.
yeah, that
Yes.
Phoenix energy that I'm committed to, that matters of going through these challenges. That's why I'm doing that.
Yes. Yes. Well, so interesting. Phoenix is, of course, for many people in transformation, including me, it's the biggest, it's the symbol, is my logo is a phoenix. I don't even know. Like my
Mm.
logo is a phoenix, my tattoos are phoenix. So I resonate with that a lot. Like that image, that symbol for me is like a great reminder.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm a feng shui consultant as well. So I love being able to weave in imagery and symbolism and colors and all of these different things. Similarly to dance, it's just like another
Yes.
perspective that we
Yes.
can work with and explore that impacts us mind, body, spirit.
Oh, wow, that's powerful. Ooh,
Mhm.
thank you for
I love
sharing that. Yes.
Oh my gosh. So, if someone was to take away anything from this conversation that we've
Mhm.
talked about today, what would you most want them to remember or, yeah, comes to mind?
I think what I would like to suggest, or like just shine the light on, is use your life and the things that you do as a metaphor for the things that matters to you on a personal level. So, social dancing and Zouk for me, it's a metaphor for life
Mm,
and what matters for me and the way I want to show up. So instead of just looking at life as coincidence and a combination of facts that are passing by, I try to think, if this is showing up in front of me, it's an opportunity for me to understand something. But it's
mm,
not about understanding something about the thing that it's happening. It's not about the thing itself. It's about what the thing represents. So if you observe life as a symbolism, now that you're mentioning this, if you look at life, and I'm a dancer. So my goodness, the amount of symbols that I have is huge. And it's just the exact same amount of symbols you have in your own context. In your own context, if you're a coach, if you're a rock climber, if you work as an employee for a company, it doesn't matter. If you're a stay-at-home mom, it doesn't matter. If you start looking at the things that pass in front of you, the things that you observe, not as just facts, but as a metaphor, like, what is behind? What does that mean? If everything becomes a symbol of understanding yourself and what
mhm,
you could do with it to have a better life and create a better life for others, life changes. And it's so interesting because at some point, the content of the stuff means less. One of the things I was telling a client today was like, I think a big lesson in life is really learning not to take things personally while taking them personally. So they are not personally because they're not about you, but they're still personal because you have a personal capacity to do something about it. So it's not personal, it's not like about you, but you're
mm,
still in charge of doing something because if it came to you, there is a way in which you relate to it, you know?
mm,
So the reason I'm saying this is because I really think the transformational process is when we can transcend content and go into meaning.
mm,
So, okay, so I don't know. I'm seeing a lot of blue colors lately. Okay, what's the meaning? Oh, I don't know what's the meaning. If you were to guess, be creative. You know, even if you don't know. So just guess it. What could it be? Even if you don't get it right, as people say, it gets you closer. You just want to be closer. I
Yeah.
think this is the biggest takeaway for me because it teaches me everything that I need to know. It helps me to make things less personal. It makes me more forgiving. It keeps me curious about
Mm-hmm.
life. It's automatically create a spark.
Hmm.
Never put the trash out. Never put the trash out. This is the fifth time I'm asking this week. Can you just put the trash out? He says he's gonna do it and he doesn't. So I look at this and instead of thinking, oh, this person doesn't have, instead of creating stories about the fact, I was like, what does it mean for me?
Mm.
Wow, maybe it means that I have a commitment to hygiene. Maybe it means that whatever. Maybe it means that, wow, I really want to be able to trust his words when he says he's going to do something. The meaning is going to go deeper, you
Mm.
know? And then you can do something more meaningful about it.
Yes, I love that. I have a podcast episode called How to Use Everything as an Oracle, which is reminds me of what you said of anything can give us messages.
Yes.
We choose to be open to them. If we
Mhm.
choose to say, okay, universe, dance, house, whatever it is,
Yes.
show me whatever message I need to learn in this moment. If I'm
Yes.
seeing blue 10,000 times or the trash or whatever it is,
Yes.
what can I learn in this
Yeah.
moment? And be
Yeah.
curious and tune into that inner wisdom, that intuition,
Yes.
and see, like you said, what is the deeper meaning or what could the deeper meaning be
Yes.
underneath just that surface level thing instead of taking it personally or creating a story about it, getting
Yeah.
curious about what this means to me.
Yeah.
What this means if I'm upset about something, what this
Yeah.
means if this keeps happening.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. Mhm. Beautiful. So, one of the last questions I love to ask, because for me, so much of following your spark is just giving yourself space to follow anything that sparks a curiosity, interest, passion. It could be super random. You could not know why you're doing it. Is there anything recently you've been giving yourself space to follow or explore that's, yeah, been fun, exciting, or interesting for you?
Oh my gosh, this is gonna sound so interesting right now. I'm gonna give the unconscious mind answer.
Great.
So I'm not even giving it a thought. And the word that came to me was silence.
Hmm.
I'm an Enneagram type 7. This is how I identify myself, and I'm totally cool with that. So, like, I have this Enneagram type 7 energy. So, joy, living out of joy is automatic for me. And I didn't know in which ways that was actually harmful because I'm always seeing the positive and sometimes not being realistic, pushing out anything that I judged as negative instead of looking at those to learn lessons. So one of my learning processes has been staying with silence instead of filling up the space with something all the time because
Mm,
my tendency is to give a space, I fill it up with word, action, idea, so I fill it up. So
mm,
it's been really interesting finding spark and joy in the nothingness, in the
mm,
silence. There's never nothingness per se, but like in the space, like letting things be and like just observe,
mm,
so it's been the biggest life lesson to some extent and desire. Be comfortable in being absolutely and not having to do something about it and let the doing flow from the being, which is the actually it's the baseline of my coaching process. Like how can do
mm.
flow from being? So I'm actually very shocked with my own answer because I would never think I would say this. But if finding spark in silence and
Yeah.
in inaction has been really interesting.
What has that been looking like on a daily basis? Can you give any examples
On a
recent?
practical level, can be me not scheduling private lessons every single day and having no reason to say I'm not doing it. I think lately the biggest lesson on a practical level is like every time I will not do something or I will say no to something, I need to say no to something because I have something else to do.
Hmm.
So, do you want to come over? Like, my friends are going camping literally tomorrow, and I do have things to do. And I said, hey, I'm not into it this time, you guys. Why? Do you have work? And that is true that I have work. I'm like, yes, and I would not want to come even if I didn't. Oh, so I feel like most of the time we need to say no because we need to already be preoccupied with something
Hmm.
else. And there's no space for spark.
Yes.
Does it make sense? And I almost feel like I don't have the right to say no if I'm not busy. I cannot say no. Why? I don't even have a reason. I just don't want to. So I don't have the right to my pure silent no. So for
Yeah.
me, it's been a lot of spark and courage and a mixture of fear to say no. And that's the only reason why. And staying with the silence of not having to justify that. So
Mm.
I feel like it's a very practical example.
Yes. I love that so much. And I would imagine probably every single person listening to this conversation right now could resonate with that. And
Mm,
that I hear it with pretty much every single one of my coaching clients, the struggle to carve out time and space for
yeah,
silence, for quiet, for restorative practices, whatever it is.
yeah.
That's why step one of my coaching process is about sustaining your spark. And it's with practices like this that sustain you,
Yes.
whether it's doing nothing or meditating or dancing or being creative and not needing to explain to anyone else why you're prioritizing that, and to have it be okay to
Yeah.
have space to not be constantly doing. I feel like we live in this world and society where the expectation is like, how many things can I check off my to-do list today? That's what made me successful. If I could do 10,000 things, versus people don't often necessarily feel successful if they just gave themselves a whole day to do nothing, God forbid. So I love that
Yes.
your spark right now is inviting you into more silence.
Yes, and it's so cool because I think I presupposed this would never happen because this is how I've been conditioning myself for so many years, and I think society itself. So really cool. Wow, I love hearing about your coaching process. Cannot
Beautiful.
wait to know more about it.
I love it. Well, is there anything else that I didn't ask you before we close out this conversation?
That you didn't ask that I think it was important to mention.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything on your heart that you just feel inspired to share or that's coming through right now?
I think what I'm inspired to share is if you're a dancer, I want you to know that it's okay to stop.
Mm,
It's not really a question, but I feel like I want you to know that it's okay to pause.
mm,
Kind of goes on the segue of silence. If you're a non-dancer and you're a non-active person, I really want you to tell that it is okay to move
mm,
because I work with both sides of the coin and I can see in which ways we're missing each other out. Like, oh, we're
mm,
missing certain things here. So, a way to take care of yourself and your mindset and everything, I really think is movement and it's through your physical body. And I do a lot of people that do personal growth, a lot of people, and have zero physical activity. Be rock climbing, canoeing, yoga, whatever that is. Get your body involved because your mind needs this connection. The mind body connection is a real thing. So, like, it really needs this. So, I think this is what I'd like to say. And the last thing I'd like to add is there's a limit for being obsessed with growth.
mm,
Because I'm a transformation and growth oriented person, people think I am obsessed with it, and I am to some extent. But I also already know I am perfect as I am.
mm,
So growth is just a part of the process. It's not something that I have to do, otherwise, I'm not worth it. So
mm,
let growth for dancers and non dancers be just a natural, organic part of your process,
mhm,
not a way for you to just try to fix yourself by pretending that you're not perfect already. So just keep this. So if I were to add is like letting the mind body connection, self-worth come together.
mm. I love it. Well, now, so before podcasts, before coaching calls, I always pull oracle cards, and I pulled some before this conversation that one of them speaks to a lot of things that we've been talking about. And it just reminded me, I was like, oh, I don't normally read these, but do you want to hear it?
Yes, absolutely.
So it says the card is called Healing. Healing is not a destination, it's a feeling that comes and goes. At any moment, I can feel secure or I can feel triggered by past experiences. It's important to give myself grace and patience, knowing that my feelings about blank are ever evolving. Healing does not mean that memories won't affect me or that I won't be triggered. Healing changes the way situations affect me. With time and self exploration, pain can transform into indifference, understanding, and perhaps even joy. Is there anything that comes
Mm,
to mind when you hear that?
that was so beautiful.
hmm Yeah, but it just reminded me of what you were saying of growth, healing, they're ever evolving. They're not something that like, okay, we've maxed out, we've reached epiphany, we're these enlightened beings now. It's
Yeah,
just this constant process. And
yes,
won't read all of these, but another card I pulled was compassion. And
yeah,
it's about how can you have compassion for yourself throughout this process.
yes,
So, whether you're on a growth journey, you're on a healing journey, whatever it is, having compassion for those moments of quote unquote failure or the moments when things don't go according to plan, and
yeah,
know that life is this constant dance of trial and error. And we
yes,
can learn from it if we choose to. We can be curious. We can tune into that inner spark. That's the best any of us can do because
Yeah,
there's no, I don't want to say guarantee of anything. We're never going to know ahead of time. So the
yeah,
best we can do is follow that inner guidance and inner wisdom as best as possible and
yeah.
have compassion for ourselves along the way.
So, so powerful. Well, that was a summary. Thank you so much, everybody.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Absolutely.
So also, whether people are dancers or non-dancers, how can they find out more about you, about your work? Where can they get to know
Cool.
you?
I think right now the best way to find me is on my Instagram. I'm still like redoing my website, like I'm redoing all this kind of stuff. I'm planning on launching a YouTube channel in 2 months. So
Nice.
can promise the quality. I'm a beginner on that. I'm still gonna learn a lot. But I'm thinking of getting a YouTube channel because I feel like it's a way to get my voice out. But until then, the best way is to find me on my social media. So if you guys want to go to at Nelly.Caldeira, it's the easiest way to connect with me.
Beautiful. Well, definitely find her, look at her amazing work. And Nelly, it was just such a pleasure having you on here today. So thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
joining me.
Thank you so much. It was amazing.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope something in this episode resonated with you. I am so curious to hear, what is the spark on your heart that's calling you forward? What dream are you ready to pursue? If you feel this deep yearning for something more and yet the vision still feels unclear, let's talk. I offer free clarity calls to help you explore what truly matters, uncover what's been holding you back, and find out what simple, powerful practices you could be implementing that would propel you towards your dreams. I promise you will walk away from this call feeling inspired and lit up about the life you want to live, compelled by why it matters, and clear about the next steps you could take to get there. And like in all the work I do, I will invite in intuitive guidance by pulling oracle cards to open up to whatever messages would serve you most in this moment. Whatever it is that's been calling you, it's time to stop giving yourself reasons why you can't do it. You are so much more capable than you imagine, my friend. If you'd love support believing in a bigger vision for yourself and actively taking steps towards making that possible, head to ginacasbaro.com/clarity call to book your free call today. The world needs more people courageously following their purpose, passion, inspiration, and joy. And I cannot wait to hear about what that looks like for you. All right, my friend, until next time, I'm sending you so much love, and don't forget to follow your spark.